Hello, good day everyone, and welcome again to our video. So I am your host on this video. Just call me operator 214. And if you click this video, you've already got an idea on what we're talking with here. Of course, for security reasons, we will not be making any direct references. Instead, we will name the entity here that or the subject matter that we'll be discussing here is we're just gonna name him subject letter C. So anyway, with that out of the way, let's begin on our topic discussion right now. Now, on public information, Subject C claims to be a newly established company from the Czech Republic conducting scholarship business in the Philippines, which they recently opened years ago. Now, in paper, they claim to be giving opportunities on would-be Filipino aspirants to be airline pilots, and they claim to be a company of sorts, which they never stated what kind of business they're into, aside from giving the so-called scholarships. Now, if they are a company as what they claim it to be, what are their products and services? Probably giving scholarship programs to Filipinos perhaps? And here's the question, are they even authorized to sell those products and services in the Philippines? Are they registered? Now, if they claim to be a company that are selling products and services like a scholarship program, of course, be mindful of the term that we mentioned here a while ago, as it could be misleading, the term scholarship program or scholar. So if they're a business, what is the catch? Is it really a scholarship program to begin with in the first place? What is known about what they're claiming it or what they're offering now on that products and services is that it's a study now, pay later scheme, meaning it's not exactly free. And at some point, this so-called scholarship program, the scholar, if he finishes the education and got a job, he or she will have to pay them back. It's kind of like, say, a shark loan or a loan shark. So in other words, their so-called products and services that they offer as a company is not exactly 100% scholarship program. Instead, it's more like student loan schemes, like the one typically given in the Philippines by flight schools. Say, for example, Alpha Aviation, which of course Alpha Aviation is a very legal and reputable flight school in the Philippines. They even partnered with a bank. So, in definition, this so-called, going back to Subject C, in definition, this so-called scholarship program that they're mentioning and they're offering to Filipino would-be aspirants to be an airline pilot is not exactly scholarship or not exactly 100% scholarship. Of course, Subject C is a legitimate business company and they have a business permit operating in Czech Republic. But take note, Czech Republic, not in the Philippines. So in other words, they're not registered as a business in the Philippines and don't even have a registration permit. Now, I don't know how that happened, but the thing here is that since you're not registered as a business in the Philippines, you cannot be considered a company or a business entity in any form. And conducting business in the Philippines in a form of exchange or commerce is not exactly even legal. Aside from that, Subject C claims that they are not a flight school. So instead, their flight training is outsourced by BSA, a well-known flight school in the Czech Republic. Of course, typically, flight schools in the Philippines give scholarships programs in a study now, pay later. These are reputable flight schools like Alpha Aviation or Epsilon Flight School. Now, on the case of Subject C, they do not claim in any way, shape, or form to be a flight school. Another thing here to take note as well is that Subject C is not a training institution as what they clearly state. And also, as a fact, they are not also an airline company, as airline companies in the Philippines have scholarship programs, which some examples of these reputable airline companies are Cebu Pacific, Philippine Airlines, AirAsia, etc. They all have legitimate business operations, and all of them have legitimate scholarship programs. Of course, Subject C is known to use social media platforms to advertise on their dubious scholarship programs as a clickbait to unsuspecting victims, specifically Filipino would-be aspirants for an airline pilot. Now, of course, we all know how this ends up, and now the most dubious part about Subject C is known to charge 300 US dollars on an online exams that have no relevance to being in the aviation industry. So instead, they are overcharged and overly difficult exams that look more like college entrance exams, and which is more like a generalized online exams. So these exams are not target specific to be in aviation. Instead, it could look more like something on a profession ranging from a janitor to a CEO. I'm sure you get this point. If it's an online exam specifically targeted for the aviation industry, it's no-brainer that these online exams would ask questions related to the aviation subject itself. Of course, Subject C doesn't have transparency, accountability in their selection process or training curriculum when it comes to selecting their candidates. And I think it's kind of a bit of an odd thing that you don't have these factors. Normally, if you have a scholarship, a scholarship program, you should have either two or at least all of these factors, especially if you're a company who's under scrutiny. What's more bothering about Subject C is that it doesn't have clear terms and conditions, privacy policy, or even a refund policy. Which is kind of odd considering that, if you're conducting commercial activities of sorts, you should have clear records. Another thing that I would like to add is their so-called document. If you take a look on that document, it doesn't clearly state any rights of the so-called examinees. And if you look closely, it's kind of like one-sided affair, which is kind of odd, don't you think? Now, above all, Subject C doesn't have proof of evidence of partnered airlines, instead saying they're still in negotiations. Now, of course, negotiations do come and go. Some negotiations fail, some negotiations get approved. But until then, if you're saying it's still in process, that will count basically as a no. Because if the negotiations is approved, that's the part where you have to say or show proof of your evidence. And that is also a public document, by the way. Now, if they're saying it's still in negotiations, then that will basically include on all manner of common sense that it's a no. So, overall, Subject C is a company that has no clear form of business nor commercial activities in the Philippines, no office address in the Philippines, and do not mention any form of registration in the Philippines. And if they do have these, it is shrouded in mystery and company, secrecy, just like a shadowy organization of some sorts. All we know on their commercial activities is that they provide a so-called scholarship programs here in the Philippines. They are not a student loan business, they are not a flight school, and they're not an airline company in any way, nor even a testing center, nor a training organization. So that is a big question. Subject C, what kind of business entity are you? So this is the conclusion. All these mentioned red flags greatly suggest Subject C is not a trustworthy company, but rather a scam or a black company that tries to lure unsuspecting Filipinos on promises and unrealistic expectations in its commercial activities. Therefore, it is conclusive based on those facts and points that we mentioned a few moments ago that you stay away from Subject C as far away as possible and look elsewhere. I hope you give all those points here a great consideration because, of course, there's a lot of scams out there in the Philippines, and this is not the first and the last scam that will arrive on the aviation industry in the Philippines. So anyway, see you again on our next video. So bye bye for now.